right, how's it going, guys? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome, God bless. It is the year of our Lord, 2024, August 1st. And I have follow-up news concerning the Israel attack on Tehran, wherein they assassinated Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh. Of course, this is, a major development in the conflict between Israel and, Hamas, as well as Israel's conflict with Iran, whom Israel accuses of backing up these so-called terrorist groups, right? Hezbollah and Hamas. And so, this man was a major figure. He was essentially the leader of Hamas, or one of the leaders of Hamas, and he was actually the figurehead that was dealing with the hostage negotiations, right? And so the fact that Israel knew that and they still decided to kill this man, knowing that this will break down the conversations that were being had about these hostages, just shows you that, their main focus isn't to get the hostages back, right? Their main focus is clearly to destroy the enemy. Of course, the problem is that the enemy in reality is Iran and pretty much all of these Arabic countries that surround Israel that want to destroy Israel. Now, as I've mentioned previously on the channel, this is completely a biblical matter. This is all tied to the Bible, right? And that is where the answer is found. Of course, spiritually speaking, Israel, they are the descendants of Isaac, and the Arabics are the descendants of Ishmael, right? So Isaac and Ishmael were both the sons of Abraham. Both of these religions, right, Judaism and Islam, are Abrahamic religions because they trace their origins to Abraham, right, when God spoke to Abraham. And so the Bible tells us that the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael would be at each other's throats till the very end. And so that is why I believe there is no solution to this conflict. This will continue. There will never be peace between Israel, the Jewish people, and these Muslim countries, these Arabic countries, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all of the Egypt, all of these other countries, they hate Israel. And the Bible tells us that at the very end, right, before, Jesus Christ reveals himself to the world physically, all countries will seek out to destroy Israel. That is a prophecy. Now, as of right now, that has not happened. Of course, one of the major allies of Israel and its biggest ally is currently the most powerful country in the world, the United States, right? So Israel feels at liberty to carry out these major attacks inside of their opponents' capitals without any worry of, a major retaliation, because they know they have the backing of the United States military. And the U.S. is more than happy to support Israel because of those Christian beliefs, because the Christians believe and understand that according to the Bible, Israel, that is God's people, right? That is who God chose to bring about the truth, the revelation of God. And so, there are these biblical ties, and that is exactly why the United States supports Israel, right? On top of that, there's the diplomatic factor, right? Diplomatically speaking, Israel is sort of the launching point there in the Middle East for the United States operation. So politically, it behooves them to support Israel, right? But the main route the root cause of this truly is those biblical beliefs. And eventually, according to the Bible, even the United States will stop supporting Israel, but that will be very close to the coming of Christ, of course. And so this all has religious undertones, right? Superficially, people just look at the politics of it, but when you actually, when you start speaking to the leaders in these governments, you understand that it is all a religious matter, really. That is where these issues spring forth from, right? And so that is why Iran and all of these other countries, they really want to destroy Israel, and Israel sees itself in a powerful position. They believe that God is reinstating, Israel as a major nation. They have these Messianic beliefs where, they're waiting for the Messiah and for these biblical prophecies. So even though they have the backing of the United States, even beyond that, they feel that they have the backing of God himself, and so they cannot be destroyed, right? And so, biblically speaking, to be honest, it is true. That's why, even though the Jews have been persecuted throughout history since ancient Egypt, no country can destroy them, because this is, it's a biblical matter. It is biblical prophecy that God would preserve Israel until the end of time. And so, God turned over to the Gentile nations, right? All the other nations that are not Israel, in order to offer salvation there, so that salvation could reach all the people of the earth. But in the Bible, it says that he will deal with Israel once again at the end of time. And so this is all a biblical matter. We're seeing biblical prophecies coming to pass, and this is just another sign of the times in which we are living in, right? And so now getting back to the politics side, Israel is a major power. I don't know if I would say a superpower, but they have nuclear weapons. So they just launched this attack and killed a political leader here of Hamas and also of Hezbollah, an attack they also launched at Beirut. So they're carrying out attacks at these capitals, and it's pretty much a show of force, right? It's a show of the capability that they have to reach their enemies where they believe they might be safe. And this also shows the lack of security, the lack of ability of Iran, or the lack of technology to stop these attacks, right? According to reports, this was an airstrike. I believe more than likely it was probably a drone strike. And certainly, this will instill fear in any country, right? Just the realization that your enemies can literally be flying a drone overhead right now and kill you at any time without you even knowing is terrifying, of course. And only a couple of nations have that ability, and one of those nations is Israel. And, they do get a lot of their weaponry from the United States, so they definitely have that confidence. Now, Iran, currently they're holding the funeral here for Ismail Haniyeh, and of course they have vowed to retaliate. I did see some reports that the U.S. has warned that within 72 hours we might see a major attack. Now, previously, Iran, I believe a couple of months ago, did launch a major attack at Israel. They sent dozens of drones at Israel. I believe some of them, only a couple of them did get through because a lot of them were taken down by Israel's Iron Dome system, which is, pretty effective. But at that time, Iran sort of warned Israel literally on like the day and hour that they were going to launch these drones, which, is really odd. When you're trying to attack an enemy, you don't let them know, when you're going to attack and how you're going to do it. But they sort of telegraphed this because they didn't want things to escalate, right? They wanted to sort of do a show to save face, right? To let the Iranian people and all of those other nations that hate Israel, that Iran does attack back, that they do have that capability, but it really wasn't a truly threatening attack. And it really does show Iran's weakness, right? Their lack of ability to actually carry out attacks on the same measure that Israel is able to. And so I believe we're going to see something of the like here. Now, the interesting thing is, even after this attack, even if it's more effective than when they sent these drones over, Israel could again retaliate, and we also have to keep an eye out on Hezbollah to see if they join in this revenge attack, because then we could see a war develop there. And of course, Hezbollah is an actual, a much bigger army. They have a lot more missiles. Of course, Iran does as well. So this could become a bigger war, which will lead to more deaths. And certainly, even though I do believe that, this is a biblical matter, and that God, for the sake of his word, will not allow Israel to be destroyed completely, because prophecies still have to come to pass. That does not mean that Israel can't suffer major casualties, right? And that certainly doesn't mean that the United States can't get more involved, or other nations on the side of Iran, right? So I do believe things will continue to escalate, and I believe Israel will continue to win this war. They will continue to have the upper hand because of their military ability and because of the support of the United States. But I believe that things will continue to heat up in that region, right? And it's causing more instability, right? Economically and politically. But anyways, let's read a little bit about this in this article from the Washington Post. They have a couple of live updates here. So it says, Iran vows revenge after Hamas leader assassinated, ceasefire talks in doubt. The assassination of Hamas's political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran has dealt a major blow to ceasefire negotiations to end the war in Gaza. Again, this guy was the head of these ceasefire talks, and so when you kill the main guy that's negotiating this, essentially you're pretty much making a statement saying, hey, we don't care too much for negotiations. Let's go to war. It says, as well as a release deal for the Israeli hostages held by Hamas, the attack, along with the killing of senior Hezbollah official in Beirut, has also heightened fears of a wider Middle East conflict, as Iran vowed to avenge Haniyeh's death. Haniyeh was the chief negotiator for the Palestinian militant group in ceasefire talks. Funerals for Haniyeh and senior Hezbollah commander Fuad Shakir will be held Thursday, so that's going on right now. I believe they're holding the funeral ceremonies right now as they chant, death to America, death to Israel. Will be held Thursday in Tehran and Beirut, respectively. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday issued a tough demand to all parties in the Gaza conflict to stop taking escalatory actions, a message that was clearly aimed at Israel a day after the assassination of Hamas's top political leader in Tehran. Blinken did not call out Israel by name, nor did he say Israel had killed Ismail Haniyeh, the head of the Hamas's political wing and lead ceasefire negotiator. But it still amounted to the angriest denunciation of Israeli actions by senior U.S. leader after the dual killings of two major Israeli foes, a top Hezbollah official in Beirut and Haniyeh hours later in Tehran. Israel has not acknowledged the strike that killed Haniyeh, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said only that Israel had dealt crushing blows to Hezbollah and Hamas. I mean, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Of course, Antony Blinken, we know the U.S. supports Israel. I'm pretty sure Israel communicates all of these attacks to the U.S., and the U.S. gives them the go-ahead. So really, after Israel carries out these escalatory attacks where they're killing members of the leadership of Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah, the U.S. always comes out crying for peace, for cool heads, right? So really, they're sort of just warning Iran and all of these other groups to not retaliate because things can get worse. So it's not like they're really warning Israel. They're actually just warning the opposition, right? So it goes on here. Right now, the path that the region is on is for more conflicts, more violence, more suffering, more insecurity, and it is crucial that we break the cycle, and that starts with a ceasefire, Blinken told reporters in the Mongolian capital after a meeting with his counterpart there, right? So the U.S. is saying one thing, and it's doing another. They're sending money, weapons to Israel. Of course, Netanyahu was just at Congress saying, we can do this together, we can destroy the enemy. So it's just, it's all doublespeak. It's hypocrisy. It's saying, they're trying to act like they're vying for peace, while in reality they want a war with Iran, right? The U.S. love this. They love this, right? J.D. Vance, Trump's vice president pick, he's irking for a war with Iran. They were even trying to tie Trump's assassination to Iran. We know Lindsey Graham, he's literally, licking his chops at a war with Iran. All of these war hawks are. And so, of course, they're supporting Israel. Of course, they want Israel to continue in this, right? It lines up with what the U.S. wants. So it continues here. Iran vowed to retaliate against Israel, which it blamed for the assassination of a Hamas leader in Tehran on Wednesday, an escalation in a years-long shadow war between the adversaries that in recent months has burst into the open with several high-profile attacks. We consider it our duty to take vengeance for the death of Ismail Haniyeh, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said in a statement. Khamenei lambasted Israel, saying it had attacked the former political chief of Hamas while he was a dear guest in our house, which is true. Of course, they say there are no rules in war, but, back in the days, there used to be at least some etiquette, right, where, there would be some honor, and the fact that they did kill this man while he was a guest attending the inauguration of the new president of Iran is pretty shocking, and also pretty embarrassing for Iran. So, of course, they feel obligated to answer to this attack, sort of to save face, right? So it goes on. The assassination of Haniyeh, who was in Tehran for the inauguration of Iran President Mossad Pezeshkian on Tuesday, is a stinging embarrassment for the country's security forces and a significant blow to one of its closest allies. Iran's rulers didn't say how long it would take for them to respond. Okay, let's see. Do we have some more stuff here? Hamas's leaders killing leaves Gaza ceasefire talks in doubt. Of course, that's going to put a stop to any negotiation there with the hostages. Death of Hamas leader, strike on Hezbollah commander, stroke fears of wider war. And so, yes, so pretty much right now we're waiting for retaliatory attacks from Iran, possibly Hezbollah as well. Again, if Hezbollah and Iran both launch attacks, Israel could declare war on Hezbollah. Now, that would be a huge development. Again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see how this is affecting, everything going on in the U.S. With Russia, the economy, because, it's one thing to look at what's going on in politics, right? But above that, it's the biblical prophecies. All of this, God is in control of everything. He's dealing in the affairs of men. We live in a fallen world. It tells us that all nations are corrupt. Yes, even Israel is corrupt. Again, not all Jews are corrupt. There are those that still are trying to follow what the Bible says, just as there's Christians that are trying to follow what the Bible says. But this is all leading to the fulfillment of prophecies. And so I think, what's clear to me is that this hatred between the Jews and between the Arabic nations, the Muslims, is going to continue because, again, the Bible tells us that, the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael would be at each other's throats pretty much until the end of time. And we're seeing that right now. So that is going to continue. They have a religious hatred for each other. But I think that Israel will continue to remain on top because they have the support of the U.S. Eventually, that support will stop, and I can get into that a little bit more later on. But as of right now, I think that Iran will launch an attack similar like to what they did with drones. I'm not sure if they will, warn Israel this time, but I don't think it's going to be an equal attack, right? I don't think it's going to be as impactful as what Israel did, because Israel is literally cutting off the head of the dragon. They're going after the leaders, right? And that's not the same as going after regular soldiers, right? You can kill 10, 20 regular soldiers, but when you take out a figurehead, right, a boss, a leader, that has a major demoralizing impact on the opposition. And I'm sure that the Iranians, Hezbollah and all of the people there, they're wondering why Iran isn't, declaring war, or why they're not retaliating in a major way. And that's because the leadership of Iran and these other countries that hate Israel understand that Israel does have a superior military. They may not have as many people, but they do have nuclear weapons, and of course they have the backing of the U.S. But even besides that, if Israel would, see itself threatened to a point where, they realize they cannot overcome the numbers of the opposition, they would resort to nuclear weapons. And of course, that could lead to, nuclear escalation with other countries that might be supporting Iran, right? Such as Russia and China, who aren't necessarily backing Iran or supporting them in the way that the U.S. is supporting Israel. But if Israel were to use nuclear weapons, it could be the case. So I think we'll see, we'll see news here in the next couple of days of Iran launching this attack, but we'll have to see how Israel reacts, right? Because they're sort of playing into the hands of what the United States wants, which is a war with Iran, right? And this is all about control. This is all about, spheres of influence. So let's go ahead and keep an eye out on that. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. This is VR Revelation signing out. God bless, and see you next time.